record another mixer in 5, 4, 3.
Welcome back to the Black Sheep Recovery Warfare, where we believe that men and women trapped in the bondage of darkness and addiction can overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the power of testimony.
Amen.
Amen. We are joined back in the studio with Chelsea Grantham. Welcome
Hi,
back,
y'all.
Chelsea. Welcome back, Stacy.
Good to be back. Hi, girl.
Part 3.
Let's finish this thing, y'all.
Let's get sober.
Like, let's get sober.
Yes, sober. The end of
Golly.
the Chelsea Grantham saga is taking place today.
Yes, we are making this happen.
And this is like
This
the
is-
Lord of the Rings, Star Wars
I
trilogy.
know, right? Like, I be feeling like my life is this serious thing.
The
like,
Grantham
I
trilogies.
mean, really.
Yeah.
So we left off where you were, I think you were about to.
I was
the
heading-
the crackhead.
the
I just
crackhead,
told you
yes.
about Born Free,
Had
so we're
just
going to
told
pick up
me.
from there.
Yep. So, the God sent crackhead. Yes. I know, right?
Maybe we can rephrase that.
I don't know how else, because she really was like she was an angel from God. Like, she was literally she was sent to me, and she changed my life.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, but so I ended up got with the CPS workers, and I ended up going to Born Free. They brought Henry.
Can you tell us what that is real quick?
Yeah. So Born Free is it's a residential rehab facility. They've relocated now from the first time I went, but they are run by Catholic Charities.
Okay.
Super awesome, super great rehab, where they reunite the mothers and their children. And you actually go to rehab. It's a 90-day program where you go with your kids.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Take your babies with you to rehab.
Wow.
Yes. And super great people. Shout out to Barbara Courtney. Miss Kelly's not with the program anymore. She's still part of Catholic Charities, but shout out to all of them. Super great program. They're still changing women's lives every day. Actually, I will take a minute. I'm going to do this because right now they are actually looking for sponsors for the women that are in the facility right now. So if anybody hears this and you are a mother, a woman of Christ, a woman in recovery, and you would be interested in being a sponsor to some of these ladies in this program, please reach out to me. We are desperately needing sponsors and women of God to just connect with these women and help them out. Super amazing program. Changed my life.
Yeah, and I'd also say if anybody's hearing this that is a mom looking for treatment,
Yes,
who also
most
has
definitely.
Yeah.
Please reach out to me. Look, all it takes is one call, and I can help you get in.
Yeah.
We can get you in ASAP. I believe they've got quite a few beds open actually
Yeah.
right now.
Do they have a website or Facebook page?
So no, because due to the fact that it is a private facility, they keep it real
Yeah.
undisclosed. But it is familiar. Like if you have a CPS case, if your kids have been taken from you or anything like that, they are actually an option through CPS. That was how I got hooked up with them as well. Where CPS and the judge can court order where you can actually take your kids with you and have your child with you while you do this rehab program and work through the treatment. So, if you don't have your child right now and your child's in state custody, it's a great thing to be able to reunite you with your child and your child not have to go through that separation
Yeah.
trauma and stuff like that at the same time.
and you get to meet Jesus.
And you get to meet Jesus.
Let me ask a
Come
stupid
on.
question. Do you have to be a mother to go to this program?
Yes, you
Okay.
do have to be
Okay.
a mother or an expecting mother. They do take women that are pregnant as well. If you are expecting and you need to get sober, please reach out. We can get you set up. Let's help you before things get nasty. Because look, I'm a mother that went through it. You're about to hear it in the next couple minutes.
Let's hear about that. Let's hear about your experience while you were at the Born Free. Was it
the
the
first time.
The first time.
So
yeah.
my first experience with Born Free, I was not ready. I was like, I'm going to go to this program and I'm going to get my kid back, but I'm just going to, I'm going to play the system. So I went into this program and they brought Henry to me, which he had been with a couple that CPS had placed him with. They brought him to me. I had literally, now y'all remember, I didn't have Phoenix but for 4 days.
Right, your mother did.
This was really my first experience with a newborn baby. So I went through everything, and I had to adjust to feeding a child, doing all these things that I had never done before. And there was a super sweet old lady there, and I hate that I don't even remember her name, but she literally saw me like at my break point. I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is insane. I'm coming off of all these drugs. Like, and now I have this newborn baby that, like, I have to feed, I have to love, I have to nurture. Like, what am I doing?
Overwhelming.
Oh my God, what have I stepped off into? And she taught me how to fix bottles, taught me how to burp my child, change my child, do all these things. And it was really, really a blessing, you know. But unfortunately, as I went through the program, I could not do the things that they expected of me. I kept getting caught smoking cigarettes. You weren't supposed to smoke on the facility's property because it was at a children's home property. And I kept getting caught smoking cigarettes. I couldn't follow the rules. And then ultimately, I had snuck a cell phone in there. And not the brightest girl in the world. Of course, I posted stuff on Facebook. And yes, I did. And I got caught. Well, before they'd actually found the phone, they'd seen the post, and I just kind of played it off. And then another girl that was there was like, if you don't let me use your phone, I'm going to tell on you. And so between smoking cigarettes and getting caught, and then getting caught with a cell phone.
Snitch.
Yeah, well, that snitch, you know, she actually ended up losing her way through the program and stuff like that too. But, you know, God works in mysterious ways, because you know what? She is now sober, has her baby, and is doing great as well. So we all go through our trials, but, you know, unfortunately, they had enough of my trials. They weren't going, and I got kicked out of the program, and they took Henry. I literally tried calling my mom. My mom was out of town. She wouldn't even answer the phone. I don't even remember who it was that ended up coming to pick me up, but I ended up leaving Henry there. CPS found another family to place him, which actually y'all will hear about here in just a few minutes. God works in ways that we never even see.
Amen.
And I had no idea at this moment in my life. All I saw was just desperation. I was like, oh my gosh, like I just lost another baby. I got back out there on the street, and then of course I started using again. And next thing you know, I just stopped calling CPS about Henry. It was one of those where it was like, if I didn't acknowledge him, I mean, I had nowhere. Where was I going to take him? I was living once again in a shed behind some people's house, and life was just a wreck. I was a wreck. I was holding a sign on the highway. I was not in a place where I should be taking care of a child. So I literally stopped reaching out to CPS, stopped even trying to find anything out. From what I understand, CPS couldn't find me either. So next thing you know, we were out flying, doing some stuff. You know, things were just going. Life was going. I was selling drugs, you know, just being a drug addict.
Living the life.
Living the life. And we ended up moving to a hotel over off a county line, the Ridgeway, or Roadway, I think that's what it's called, Roadway Inn. And Gino got a job working as the maintenance guy there. And I was pregnant again. I had found out that I was pregnant. I was doing all my typical usual things. I was out there pregnant, holding a sign on the highway and stuff like that. My predominant place to be was County Line Road, right there. We called it the Split. It was right there when you came off the highway. And I was out there one afternoon. I was probably about 7.5, 8 months pregnant. I was big. I know that. Summertime, hot.
Ugh.
And this car come up to me and gave me some money and gave me a card that said shower power is coming. And I was like, what in the heck is shower power? And I was like, whatever. So I threw it in my bag and I kept on going. Well, then another lady pulled up on me, and this is a moment of God. This is when God sends you people when you don't deserve it at all. But God knows you need it the most. This most amazing, bubbly, blonde-haired, happy lady that I had never seen anybody so happy in my life pulled up on me and was like, Hi, my name is Teresa. I'm with Shower Power. I just want to help you. Can I give you my number and you call me and we can meet up and I can help you? And I was like, okay.
Sure,
Teresa
Sure.
is one of the most amazing women that was ever created and put on this earth.
Let me tell you, she's amazing. She's beautiful. She's amazing. She's talented. And she's such a selfless person, y'all. She has a love for people and for humanity that is unlike anything I've ever seen. She's an inspiration to me every day. I am very privileged to be acquainted with Miss Teresa. I'm sure she's probably watching
She is truly an angel on earth.
and look,
she truly is.
this woman has been on my support team for a long time now. So I got back to the hotel room and I told Gino, I was like, look, this lady, she gave me her number and she wants me to call her. Well, my dad had done died. My mom had given us his truck. So we had a vehicle. We were staying at the hotel. Gino was working, doing his thing, and I was flying. So we weren't in the worst of straits, but we weren't doing what we needed to be doing.
You were heading in that direction again.
I was heading in that direction again. So I reached out to Miss Teresa, and I ended up meeting her at Burgers and Blues. She ended up giving me a bunch of food and talking to me about Shower Power, asked me when I was due and stuff like that, and was like, well, we would like to help you. We would like to help you out with anything that you need, if you need transportation or if you need, anything like that. She was very there for me, and I grew a relationship with Miss Teresa, and I would, even if it was just I'd message her and be like, hey, I'm okay, or whatever it may be. She'd come through, the Shower Power people would come through, they'd bring us something to eat and stuff like this. At this point in time, Shower Power hadn't even really began like it is now. She was literally working on she had taken a food truck and gutted the inside and put a shower inside of it. And she would go to different locations, and if they'd let them use their water supply, then the homeless could come and take showers. So basically, I was getting in touch with her, staying in touch with her, and then I ended up having another baby. I had my beautiful little boy, Falcon Steele. We took Falcon home, literally went to the hospital. I laid in the bathtub until I couldn't handle contractions anymore, waited till the last minute, went to the hospital, had Falcon. We brought Falcon home to the hotel. I started using a little bit, but not as much like as I had been before. I'd kind of, socially here and there, but not a whole lot. Gino was working. It wasn't like we had drug paraphernalia in our hotel room or any of that. We were focused on being parents. Falcon was doing good. We went for his 4-week checkup. Told us baby Falcon was good, all healthy, and everything seemed good. And about 4 days later, I woke up in the middle of the night to feed Falcon, and I fell asleep while I was feeding my son. And I woke up, and my son had slid down the side of my jacket, like my sweatshirt that I was wearing, and my baby suffocated, and my baby died. This was a moment in my life where I was like, what have I done? I blamed myself completely. Sorry, y'all. I couldn't live with myself. We went to the hospital, and the nurse was so sweet, y'all. I remember her telling me, she said, honey, she said, it's gonna be hard, but you're gonna be okay. God has a reason for everything. And I hated myself. I was disgusted with myself. And the doctor came in and said, we have deemed your son's death SIDS. And I was like, what is that? And they said sudden infant death syndrome. But I learned that day that they also consider SIDS as another name for moms that have accidents. And I came to learn after my story that it's a lot more common than what you would believe. It's hard being a new mom. not only that, it's hard being a new mom when your life is overwhelming and scary and
And chaotic.
chaotic. So I ended up my mom and them couldn't find me and Gino. We left the hospital and there was a place that we used to go and hide out. And I remember me and Gino going down there and sitting down there, and I just was so mad. I was so upset. I was like, I don't understand. I finally get to bring my baby home, and God, why would you give me this baby and then take him from me? And I had rage.
Mm-hmm. Did you feel like it was a punishment?
Yeah, I did. I felt like I was being punished for being a failure.
Mm-hmm.
And for not being the mother and the woman that I was expected to be by society. And I went over to a friend of mine's house, and I got stupid high. I'm just talking stupid high. And
you did the only thing you knew that would work.
The only thing I knew.
Yeah.
This is just our go-to.
Well, we don't know anything else.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
all
I
we
mean,
know.
if that's the only thing I know that works, of course that's what
how
I'm going to do.
You know, that's how I dealt with all of anything that happened in my life, as far as loss or grief or anger or anything. That was my God. That was my go-to.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I did the
Yeah.
same thing.
So I ended up, we ended up going back to my mom's house after that. My mom was just frantic. Like, when I first called my mom, she was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, yelled at me. And I remember the nurse looking at me and was like, "It's okay."
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's okay. But it wasn't like my mom was mad at me. It was just like, you know what I'm saying? So at first I didn't really want to go to my mom's house. But then once I got there, I was really glad I did. Gino and I went through it. I curled up in my mom's living room floor, and I couldn't go in the bedroom because there was signs of Falcon in the bedroom when we would stay over there, things like that. And this is where your mental is affected. I would hear Falcon crying. I could hear him crying, and so could Gino. And we would jump up like we were
Little PTSD.
like we were going to go and check on him, and he wasn't there. So I just blanked out, y'all. We had Falcon cremated. We used the same funeral home that we used when my dad died. And they were super sweet, super supportive, and super there. But, you know, obviously I didn't have a lot of money. At that point, I fell apart. I couldn't go back to the hotel where Gino had a job, and so I couldn't go back. Gino and I went up there finally and cleaned out the hotel room. It's real sad. It shows you how garbage people are. People had broke into our hotel room and stole stuff out of the hotel room, knowing that I hadn't been back in there since my son had died. But so I ended up back at Select 10, bad out on drugs. I was shooting crystal meth mixed with ketamine daily. And poor Gino, like I say poor Gino because like I would disappear. Like I'd be there and then all of a sudden I'd just be gone. Gino found me one night in the woods behind the city thrift over in North Jackson off the frontage road in the woods. I had just disappeared. I was just out there just rocking.
Best dumpster diving in the state.
Best dumpster diving I ever experienced in my life, just saying. But, you know.
We don't have to live like that anymore, guys.
We aren't about that life.
We don't
anymore,
get in dumpsters anymore, right? Right?
No. But so Gino was doing the best he could to be there for me, but at the same time, Gino had his anger. Gino was angry with me. And Gino was blaming me, you know, and
could you feel that from him?
Oh God, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh God, yeah. But I couldn't be mad at him for it because at the same time, I felt it. I hated myself. Like, what the heck kind of person was I? I mean, like, I fell asleep. The one thing that I was supposed to be responsible at, like, I failed. And so then I just went wild.
Mhm.
I went wild. Well, needless to say, I was going through all that, going wild, doing the most. I found out I was pregnant again. Um, Falcon was born October of 2020, or no, 2018. Falcon was born October 21st of 2018.
Holy crap, it's my birthday.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And then Keezy was born October 25th of 2019. So if this tells you, I
1
was
year. Yeah.
I was in 1 year.
Mhm.
So I found out I was pregnant with Keezy, and Miss Teresa would still check on me, you know, and message me and stuff, and see me out flying and stuff like that. So when I found out I was pregnant with Keezy, we were staying. We had been kind of bouncing around. We were at Studio 6 for a while with a friend of ours. And during the same time, the police were prosecuting the guy that had attacked Gino. So they kept us placed somewhere safe while they were doing all this. And y'all, you should have seen, I'll never forget this, and it's terrible, but you know, we're druggies. Like, we're dope heads. Like, I sell drugs for a living, okay?
And you're in witness protection.
And pretty much the state is paying for our hotel to make sure that we're where they know where we are, so when the case comes to court, that me and Gino can be there. So they come up there to meet us one afternoon to talk to us about the whole case, to talk to us about, you know, accepting the plea deal and all this stuff. Y'all, they pull up, and it's not like one or two of them. It's like 6 cars deep of like
No.
blacked out windows, all this.
The whole
The
hotel
whole-
shut down.
Girl, when I tell you I couldn't sell a lick of drugs for
Yeah.
like 3 weeks after that. Thank
Come on,
God.
Jesus.
You know, Jesus was like, let me shut you down.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, so, you know, we were staying there. So we went through all that. They ended up finding the guy guilty. He didn't do a whole lot of time. But during all this, I'm pregnant again. And we're kind of moving around. Our dogs had a tendency to get us kicked out of every hotel we were at. Honey Bun wasn't the nicest dog in the world. She didn't care for many people, and she would let you know. And she didn't care for the cleaning people, and I would try to tell them, don't come in my room. They didn't, you know. So we ended up getting kicked out of the Studio 6, and we ended up moving to the Oyo on High Street.
Oof.
It had just opened. This was when it had just opened. And, you know, I thought I was doing great because they had like the condo rooms where it was like you had like your living room and kitchen area, and then your bedroom was in another room. So I was like, oh my God, I'm doing really good. And I was getting this great deal on it because, you know, it was the Oyo deal prices. And I was like, God, you've just helped me out. You know, I'm not having to fly as much. Like, but during all of this, Miss Teresa's still talking to me and everything. And another lady named Sandy is talking to me too. Miss Sandy goes around still to this day every Saturday and feeds the homeless. Super big shout out to her too. She's been a big part of our lives. When a friend of mine's husband passed away, actually, she even helped to get him cremated. She's like Miss Teresa is, heart of gold, very, very amazing woman of God. And so both of them were kind of keeping in touch with me and talking to me and making sure I was doing okay. So this time around, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get sober. I'm not going to have my baby taken. I'm going to do this. I've got this. But I'm terrified. I'm absolutely terrified. I'm like, God, why are you putting me through this again? Why? I mean, like, I have epically failed as a mother. Why are we doing this? And so I get sober. I had one slip up, and I had gotten mad at Gino and them because they were all in there getting high, and I was like, y'all assholes. Like, sorry, excuse me.
It's fine.
You know, I was like, y'all assholes are in here getting high, and I'm in here trying to sleep. I'm huge pregnant, and I'm like, I'm probably like a few weeks from my due date. My dumb self goes and hits the bowl. Immediately after I do it, I'm so mad at myself, and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm literally about to pop like any moment. So next thing you know, I literally, and I'm huge, y'all. When I mean huge, like with Keezy, I was almost 235 to almost 240 pounds when I had Keezy. So at this time, I'm like 8 months and some weeks. Like I'm almost 9 months. I hit my knees, and y'all realize I have no relationship with God. This is purely me being selfish. This is not of God. I hit my knees and I'm like, God, please don't let me have this baby yet. Please don't let me have this baby yet. Let me tell you something. Watch what you pray for. I didn't just not have him yet. I held him for 4 more weeks. God wanted to make sure I was clean.
Well, let me ask you this: what was the reason behind not wanting to have him yet?
Because I would have lost him. Because
She would have tested
I would have
positive.
tested positive, and they'd have took
Yeah.
my baby.
Yeah.
And once again, I would have failed. And I was like, in my eyes, I thought I was doing great. Now, granted, of course, I was still flying a sign and stuff like that. But, Miss Teresa and Miss Sandy were helping me out too. And they had told a lot of people about our story. And a lot of people that were connected with them had known about Falcon dying. I had a really, to have been as garbage as I am at this time, I had this support team. It was like God sent me these great, amazing people. And I say this in every time I say my testimony, like at the time I didn't even realize it. God was like, here I am, Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea, here I am.
Yeah, God sent an
Chelsea,
army.
I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
And he was sending me his army. And like, so I end up, I'm in there like, I'm 4 weeks overdue. And they're like, all right, we're going to induce you. And I'm like, okay, great. So I go into the hospital and they induce me. And I'm thinking that when they induce you, that like you literally just go into labor and it's all fine and dandy. Gino's over there laid on the couch napping and all this stuff. Girl, I'm over here shoving my belly, telling him to get out. I am in labor for almost 12 and a half hours before I dilated enough. I had Keezy. I had beautiful Keezy, my rainbow baby.
He's all right.
He's all right. He's all right. Whatever. Every time John sees him, he always asks Keezy, you got my money? And here lately, Keezy's like, yeah, I got your money.
Man,
And
but
he's like, tries to give him
that little
fake
dude
money.
has owed me like $5 for a long time. Man, I need my money.
Let me tell you, that baby right there, he's not even a baby anymore.
I love Keezy.
Let me tell you, that boy changed my life. He saved my life. Keezy Jean, he lights up a room every time he walks in it. You see my face right now. Like, I light up when I speak about it. I mean, I light up when I talk about all my children, but Keezy changed my life. Keezy saved my life. Keezy gave me a will to live.
Amen.
And God knew what he was doing when he sent me Keezy. The moment he was born, y'all, and this was the first time I'd gotten to do like skin to skin. And like I wasn't worried because I knew I was clean.
Yeah.
I knew my baby was going home with me, so I could really appreciate and enjoy the moment. There was no, and me and Gino did every second of it. And then when we took Keezy home, they literally let us go home. It was like the next day, maybe the day after. I want to say it actually was the next day. I know we had him like over a weekend, so it was like we went home quick. We went back to the OYO, and this is when, well, I take that back. So let me skip back right before I had Keezy. This is when I meet Melanie. Sorry, I'm terrible with my line.
Yeah, timeline.
So right before I had Keezy, like days before I had Keezy, maybe a week, something like that, I was out flying a sign, and I noticed this van. It was like one of those big, like, the big vans that like you see for like work kind of things, that like those Mercedes ones. It was like that. I noticed it go by me, and the lady kind of looking at me, and then I noticed that they turned around and that they come into the parking lot at the Target. And I was like, oh, I wonder if she's going to stop and bring me something. Well, I had done come off the corner, and I was changing my shoes, and I had just talked to Gino, and I was fixing to get on the bus and head back down to High Street. And this lady walks up to me, and she says, hi, my name's Melanie, and I'm Hendrix's mom. And my heart just about stops. And I was like, excuse me? And she tells me, I'm Hendrix's mom. y'all have not thought about Henry in. I'd stopped thinking about Henry. It was just I lost Henry. I would tell myself Henry's with a better family, and that's where Henry should be. So she gives me her name and number, and is like, if you want, you can call me. She tells me that Hendrix's name is now Henry, that he has 4 amazing brothers and sisters, and that they had adopted him. And she tells me he's super smart, super amazing. And I'm like, what?
That is just a gift from God,
Like,
man. That's
what?
like
So what's
huge.
crazy? So here's the craziest thing about that. So that day, Melanie normally did not go that route to go home.
Yeah.
Melanie got off a little early that day, and she actually went that route instead. God placed her where I was.
Yeah, it's a whole God one.
And she had been looking for me and kind of asked about me, and had been told by people that that I was homeless and that I flew a sign and stuff like that, but she'd never been able to find me. And so, okay, so now we go back. I've had Keezy, and I didn't really talk to Melanie. I messaged her like once or twice, but I didn't really talk to her. So we go forward. I had Keezy. I brought Keezy home. So, the lady I told y'all about, Miss Sandy calls me, and she's like, look, the church and everybody have gotten together, and we've got some stuff for Keezy. Can we come by and bring it to you? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. That would be great. So she comes by the OYO, and y'all, these amazing people, they everything you could think of, I could need: bassinet, playpen, diapers, gift cards, like clothes, everything. And I'm talking about the most beautiful of beautiful everything. But there's one thing that Miss Sandy had that God sent that I will never forget as long as I live. And Miss Sandy, actually, I wonder to this day, because I remember she took a picture of me that day. Miss Sandy came in, and this is where God places people in God's paths. Miss Sandy was doing a Bible study group, and Miss Melanie ended up being at the same Bible study group. And Miss Sandy was talking about how I had just had my son and everything, and Miss Melanie was like, what's her name by chance? And she told her my name was Chelsea. And Melanie was like, I have her son.
Wow.
And Miss Sandy was like, what? And she was like, is there any way that I could send a letter with some pictures with you and some stuff for Chelsea when you go?
Cool. God be doing stuff, man.
Man, look, you see me, I got chills right now.
God be doing stuff.
This is when my story, this is my favorite parts of my story, you guys. This is when you see God show up and show out. And I'm still, y'all realize, I'm still hiding it. I'm still getting high. I'm hiding it from all these people.
Let me just hope I got something to say. So, like, can you see how God works, that even though as filthy as we are and as disgusting as we are,
and God's
how he can step in and rain blessing down on you to draw you near to him so that you'll draw to him.
Most definitely.
Well, he'll draw near to you so that you'll draw near to him.
Most definitely.
When all that was going on in your life, like how were you interpreting all of that? Like all of these random pieces coming together, like what were you thinking?
So like never really much about God.
Yeah.
Honestly, because like, I mean, I've always made it clear through my story I was not in connection with God. But I told y'all at the end of our last podcast, I talked to my dad a lot, and I was like, all right, Daddy's up there working. Daddy's up there sending these people to watch over me. These are Dad's angels, and he's sending them to watch over me. So like, I interpreted a lot of it like my dad was connecting with me in any way he could find possible. But also at the same time, I was like, man, I don't understand why these people are all trying to help me. Like, I mean, I'm just some junkie. Like, I don't get it. And so I wasn't really sure what it was, but I was down for the help because my mom and I's relationship was mediocre at the time. I mean, not real. You know, my mom wasn't dumb to none of it. Like, but at the same time, she kind of was. my mom at one point told everybody, my daughter doesn't do drugs, but she sells drugs. Like, real talk, not even kidding. Like, my mom was like, you know, Chelsea's doing good. She's got her new baby. She's brought him home. She's sober, but she sells drugs to make ends meet.
Yeah.
And like, I'm like, all right, Mom, we're going to let you think that. But, you know, that was definitely not the case. But so I end up, Miss Sandy hands me this letter, and I open it up, and it's this letter from Melanie telling me that she loves me, that God has put me on her heart. Melanie actually did a podcast also, and in her podcast, she tells me that God put me on her heart, that the day, and this, let me try to do this without crying. The day I heard her podcast, I'd already had a relationship with her, but it changed everything. Melanie said that the day that she got Henry, that it was the greatest day of her life, but at the same time, it was the saddest day because she knew that it was the worst day of my life because I had lost him. And God placed me on her heart, and she didn't look at me like just, you know, this junkie girl lost her kid. I can't believe her. Why would you do that? No, she prayed for me every day.
That's kind of radical to me in a lot of different ways because, you know, just in some of the experiences that I have had, so many people do take that attitude, you know,
Yeah,
like
definitely.
the mom who's struggling with addiction, that's the enemy, that's the
Yeah.
gutter junkie, that's
Yeah.
the you know, that's
How
the threat.
could she?
Yeah.
I mean,
And so the fact that she was able to recognize and honor the fact that this was an incredibly devastating experience for
Yeah.
you, like that says a lot about who she is.
she's amazing too, you guys. Melanie literally, she told me she prayed for me every day. And these are these moments when I realize now, looking back on it, Melanie was praying for me every day. And these moments when people were coming, I ended up getting, you know, these prayers answered and these people coming into my life. So I ended up, we ended up leaving the hotel. We found an apartment to move to in Jackson. We moved to Bloom Street, and I had Keezy there. I was still selling drugs and stuff, but like, this is when COVID hit. COVID hit, and so all these people, right before COVID hit, all these people with the church had reached out and were like, "Can we help you?" And y'all, it was like a DIY show or something. They came to my house, and they literally furnished my house the whole 9 yards. Like, covered my house in furniture, spices in the cabinets. I mean, everything, anything that you could have thought of we needed. They furnished her. They provided. And I remember asking the lady, I said, why me? Like, why are you doing this? And she said, God told us to.
That was God answering Melanie's prayers.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And I looked at her, I said, what? She said, God told us to. Well, Melanie and Adam ended up coming over that same day and brought a bunch of stuff that was Henry's that they wanted to pass on. And at this time, of course, I've not seen Henry again. And, you know, I lost Henry when he was 3 months old. So I've not seen Henry, none of that kind of stuff. So I'm like, okay, you know, I'm going through all these things, meeting Melanie and Adam, and me and Gino are like, all right, you know, this is cool. But yet at the same time, we're focused on Keezy, kind of having funky feelings, you know, about getting close with Melanie and Adam. Then COVID hit. COVID struck, and the church would leave stuff on our front porch because, of course, you know, we're under quarantine. You know, nobody's out doing anything. Nobody's allowed to talk to anybody and come near anybody, of course. Well, I took the COVID time as a time to learn how to do white-collar crime. And I ended up doing all kind of,
Doing the most.
Yeah. We'll go with that. Yeah. That sounds like a great way to describe it. So I'm doing the most, and I've got all this money, and I'm being terrible. I'm disappearing all the time, leaving Gino with Keezy for days on end. And Gino has a head injury and is, you know, going through things, very angry with me. I'm running off, hanging out with other men. We're fighting all the time. I'm not being a mom. I'm shooting dope. There's just, it was a real toxic, bad situation.
You'd literally return to your own vomit.
I had literally
Can-
returned.
Do you think, and I was wanting to ask you this a second ago, but I could just kind of, with very limited experience, I can just kind of try to imagine what it might have been like for you to get this information from Melanie. Because it's like, it seems like, and maybe you disagree with this, but it seems like on the one hand, it's such a blessing and a relief, and he's doing great, and I'm so happy for him. But I wonder if at the same time there was a part of you that was sad in response to that, kind of putting you back in a place where, oh yeah, but I lost him.
Most definitely.
And so I wonder if that kind of triggered for you, hey, let's go a little bit harder.
Yeah, most definitely. I was, I was still disappointed in myself, and I was still real nervous about even being a mom. Gino really stepped up, like, with helping with Keezy, because, like, a lot of times I was like I would panic about everything because I was scared he was gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember when Gino started feeding Keezy real food, and Gino would feed him stuff, and I'd be like, "Don't do that, he's gonna choke." And then the one time that I give him something to eat, he choked, and like I'm like flipping out, and Gino's like, "It's okay, like we've got this." But all these things are going on, and I'm out there, y'all. I don't. There's no explanation, no excuse. Y'all, I was being garbage, and I was leaving Gino in situations with Keezy where we didn't have much money, and we were both on drugs, and I'm selling drugs, and it's a bad situation. Like, I remember the feds coming running up in our apartment looking for another guy. And Keezy's in there sleeping in his crib, and even then I didn't see it as, this is bad. This is a bad situation that my child's in. I was like, oh, I'm doing the best I can. Don't knock me. The defensive. But I would leave and disappear for like days sometimes. I was running off to the casino. I was running off doing dope with this other guy, and so I ended up pregnant again. This time not by my husband. I ended up pregnant by another man, and one of the worst things I ever had to do was tell Gino I was pregnant with another man's baby. This is when my story gets really hard, y'all, because, and this was all publicized, like, so I'm pregnant. I've got Keezy. I leave Gino. I'm staying in hotels. Me and Gino were real toxic. Like, we would fight, like physically fight. We were on drugs really bad. Things were bad. And Gino was in a really bad place. The drugs and his head injury mixed together they had took him over. I look at Gino today, and I look at how Gino was then, and it's
Night and day.
night and day. But it affected Gino really bad. Like, Gino was going through things. Gino was going through things. Like, I don't want to put his stuff out there because I feel like that's not my place. But Gino was in a really dark place. And I love my husband, and I blame myself for a lot of it because I put him in positions and situations and didn't consider his brain injury and the drug use and everything. And I blamed him for crap, and I accused him of crap. And I know you're going to watch this, baby, and I love you, and I'm really, really sorry. I'm really sorry. That's all I can do. I can just say I'm really sorry. So I ended up staying in hotels, and the COVID money stopped, and I had Keezy, and I was staying at a bando in South Jackson, and I was like, what am I doing? And another guy that knew us had come over, and he was like, look, Gino cleaned up the apartment, because our apartment was just trashed. Like, when I left, like, Gino was just, he didn't care. I mean, our apartment was just trashed. And the guy was like, look, Gino cleaned up the apartment. Maybe you should take Keezy and you should go home. And this was right around Keezy's, like right around his first birthday. Well, it was a little after his first birthday. So I took Keezy and I went back. Well, I had a Wise camera system in my house, and this is really hard to talk about, but I feel like I need to. I had a Wise camera system in my house, and when I was sitting, this was like months before I'd gone back. I was sitting there one night, and this was part of why I left. I was sitting there one night, and I was looking through the video, I was kind of eavesdropping on Gino, seeing what he was doing, and I found a video where Gino had slapped Keezy in the face. Keezy just was screaming and crying, and Gino slapped him. Well, I had ended up, once I saw the video, I went and I got Keezy, immediately, and I'd left. But after that, there was only 2 people that I'd even showed this video to, that I'd sent it to or anything, that had ever saw it. And, so like I told y'all, I ended up going back. Well, when I went back, I do realize the person that I sent this to was such a close friend. Like, I confided in this person. And this person showed the video to somebody else and sent the video to them, and they posted the video on Facebook. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting there, and I look down at my phone, and I see this post of my husband slapping my son on Facebook. And this was quite a few months after it had happened. And I'm like 5, 6 months pregnant. And, me and Gino are trying to work on things, and Keezy and I are back at the apartment. Well, next thing you know, one of my friends calls me, and she's like, Chelsea, you got to watch out. Like, people are coming for Gino. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah. And then the hate messages are starting all through Facebook. Like, this is real life. Like, someone posted this on Facebook. Like, this isn't like, you can get rid of it. Like, and it's not like just one person sees it or another person sees it. Like, this is on.
It's out there.
It's out there. And the hate messages are pouring into me and Gino. And not only that, they tagged who we were in it. And then what killed me is the guy that posted it was like, I care so much about this child. He didn't even say my kid's name right. He didn't even give him the right name. And I was like, I get it that you had the intentions that you had. So now I'm mad. I'm mad. Well, then.
How was Gino acting? I mean, like, what? How did he respond to that?
And you got to realize Gino's out there. Like,
yeah.
Gino's just like, oh my God, this is not happening. And so in the middle of the night, I decide, I'm like, we load up Gino and load up Keezy, and we dip out because like this dude that had posted the post showed up at my house with like an AR and was like, you and Keezy are going with me. And I was like, you got me sideways, bro. I'm not going anywhere with you. Like, no. So me and Gino and my friend Sean load up. We go to his property out in Philadelphia. I'm on the Indian reservation. I'm like, they're not going to get my baby. Next thing you know, excuse the way I put it, shit hit the fan the next morning. I see a Facebook Live that somebody else had going that was at my apartment of the police, CPS, and all these people at my apartment, and they're looking for us. They're like, where are they at?
But why a Facebook Live? Like, I don't understand.
Because these are garbage people. Because these people wanted to, they may have thought they had good intent, but at the time it was not. But, look, this is a situation that I gave to God. Like, I'm not even going to lie.
Yeah.
Like, when I got sober,
yeah.
I gave this to God. If any of you are watching that were involved in this situation, I forgive you. I understand that you probably had good intentions. And I hope that they know that I'm not angry, because at the end of the day, y'all saved my life. You saved my husband's life. You are the reason for our sobriety starting. So thank you.
Get into that, the sobriety starting. Let's go ahead and segue into that. When did that happen?
So that happened about
like real sobriety this time, like,
That happened about 4 weeks later. 6 weeks later, somewhere in there. So I ended up, CPS calls, of course, and has me take Keezy to my mom's. They take Keezy that day. My world's devastated. I've lost Keezy. Everything's fell apart. I go to court, and I admit it. I'm like, look, they're like, how are you raising your child? And I was like, I'm a dope dealer. I'm a junkie. I'm a dope dealer. Like, here it is. I'm laying it out. And me and Gino just told them, we're screw ups. And the caseworker that we had, she was like, I'm going to help y'all. And the judge that we had was like, I'm going to help y'all. And I reached back out to Born Free and was like, I need help. Can you guys please get me in? And they actually accepted me back into Born Free. I went into Born Free December 7th let me rewind a little bit. I went into labor with Poe. So they took Keezy. And about 4 weeks after they took Keezy, I went into early labor. I had already done the intake stuff for Born Free because I knew I was on drugs and I wanted to get help, and I was either going to go while I was pregnant with Poe, because y'all got to realize I had Poe 7.5 weeks early. So I had Poe. Not only that, I found out that I was, I'd been sick and everything. So I had Poe. They come into the hospital room, and they're like, your baby's got to go into the NICU right now, and you need some serious treatment. And I was like, what are you talking about? And they were like, literally the doctor's words were, you are ate up with syphilis. Yeah. I was ate up with syphilis. I was sick, and my baby was sick. So Poe immediately went to NICU. I got released from the hospital. Of course, the state took custody, of course, of Poe and placed him with Keezy. So Poe and Keezy were with a lady. At the time, I didn't know who she was. Her name is Heather. Great, amazing woman as well. So they went with them. I ended up having to get treatments for syphilis because the treatment for syphilis is penicillin, and I am deathly allergic to penicillin. So they did what they called desensitizing me. They would do small treatments and to try to treat me, and my throat would swell closed, and I would fall out, and then they do it again. But yeah, and it did not work. I ended up having to go through another treatment of doxycycline. Thank God. I went through all of that, and I got my numbers down and everything, and was cured. Thank God. But, it could have been a lot worse. Poe was treated. That was why I had Poe early. Poe went into distress from the syphilis, and I went into early labor. So I left the hospital. I did my treatments, and I got in with Born Free. I went to court. Court gave me permission to take my kids to Born Free. I got to Born Free December 7th. I walked into Born Free, and Poe was literally like not even 2 months old, and Keezy was like 2, and it was like right after his second birthday. And so I went through Born Free. When I got there, I literally told him, I was like, yeah, look, I'm a second timer here. I'm going to be here a long time because they're not going to let me take my kids home. So I'm just going to stay here with them until they finally let me.
How long were you there?
I ended up leaving there after 90 days. Thank you very much. I found God. I found Celebrate Recovery.
Amen.
When I got there, I had no intentions. Y'all, I jumped off the bus. I jumped off the bus. After,
like literally?
Literally.
Okay.
Okay, let me ask a question real quick.
Okay,
so I found a scripture that I think really resonates with everybody in our recovery culture and community. That it's Ezekiel 36:26. It's, moreover, I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you, and I will remove the heart of stone from your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. And what I'm about to ask you is this is like going back and watching the other 2 episodes and listening to you now. You had a heart of stone your whole life.
Oh yeah.
Okay, you never, it's clear that God had His hand on you like throughout your life and throughout your experience. When were you, or where was you at, and tell me about that moment where God literally took that heart of stone and gave you the heart of flesh.
So I got taken to Celebrate Recovery at Byram Celebrate Recovery. So they would take the girls once you were at Born Free a week. Then you could go and you could do Celebrate Recovery on Thursday nights. And they took me to Celebrate Recovery. The first the first time I went, I just kind of sat there quiet in the back, and I was like, yeah, I don't know about all this. Second time I went, we did the Christmas party, and I met Karen Williams. Shout out to Karen Williams. I love you. You are my spiritual mama.
I think I'm actually going to speak there this week.
It's a super awesome place, and I'm going to have to come then and check that out. That is my home base. That is where I found God. I went in there, and Miss Karen and her husband bought Christmas for me and my kids. And I remember her hugging me and telling me that God loved me. And I was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
She was like, God loves you. God is going to do things for you. And I was like, whatever.
It's hard to receive love when you hate yourself.
So I got home, and the next day was when I tried to jump off the bus. I dropped my kids off at daycare, and I tried to get off the bus and run. And it was like I was going to go get high. And the lady, Miss Blanche, she stopped me, and she was like, Chelsea, what are you doing? She was like, God's got a plan for you. What are you doing? So they brought me back to Born Free, and I went in and I talked to Miss Lorinda. And Miss Lorinda, I told her, I was like, look, I can't do this. Like, we're going to put Poe up for adoption, and I'm just going to keep Keezy. And she was like, what? She was like, no, like, think about this. Pray about it. I was like, pray about it. She was like, yeah, I want you to go back to your room right now while the kids are at school, and I want you to pray about it. So I went back to my room, and I literally was like, all right, God, let's try this out. And I got on my knees, and it was like a real beautiful scenery behind our rooms with the water, and like the deer would walk up. And I remember looking, and there was a deer outside my window, and I was like, oh, wow. And I was like, okay. And I hit my knees, and I started praying, and I started praying, and I started praying. And I was like, Lord, if I need to let Poe go, give me a sign. Lord, if I should keep Poe and I can do this, and you know I can do this, and you're willing to be with me through this, give me a sign. And y'all, it was like something took over my body. I just started crying, just hysterical crying. And I let out tears for every trauma and everything and every pain that had been through my life. And then it was like I felt someone touch my back.
Amen.
And I heard someone tell me, Chelsea, you can do this. And I was like, oh, wow, I just heard God.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my gosh. Like, oh, this is real. So the next Thursday, we went to CR, and I had a whole different attitude. I was literally a whole different person. I hit my knees, and I prayed at that altar, and I cried, and I cried, and I prayed, and I prayed. And I stepped out, and I was like, I can do this. I want this. I stopped worrying about Gino, where Gino was, and I literally focused on me, God, and my children. And at that time, they had pretty much told me I was not going to be able to leave with my kids at the end of 90 days. And in order to be in secondary, you had to have a car, and I didn't have all that. Well, my lawyer worked with them, with the judge, and the judge saw the shift that I had made, and the judge decided to let me go home with my kids to my mom's house. So I went home to my mom's, and I got a job doing pottery. I was just kind of, doing that. And I got smashed into God. Like, I was just like, here I am, God. I'm your vessel. Like, do with me what you want. Let me change lives. Let me touch people. And that's what he's been doing ever since. In the mix of all of this, Gino was still getting high and doing his own thing. And Gino came to me, and it was Christmas Eve, and Gino's sack of dope fell out on the floor while we were wrapping Christmas presents, and I found it when he went up to go get some scissors. And y'all, this was one of my great moments, too, of my pride and my proud. I literally grabbed his sack of dope. I called him in the bathroom, and I flushed an 8-ball of dope down the toilet and was like, today is your day. Today is your day. Tomorrow we're going to have with our kids, we're going to do Christmas. But immediately after that, you're going to rehab or you're going to get out. And you're never going to see your kids again. And Gino looked at me and was like, I love you. I love our kids, and I'm going to change.
Wow.
And Gino went and checked himself into rehab. I was still focused on all of my stuff. Gino went to rehab at Harbor House. Miss Teresa was there helping us out, being support system and stuff like that through that. And I was just pouring into Celebrate Recovery, pouring into The Point, pouring into anywhere I could, telling my story. I got an amazing job thank you, Joel Swickard, for giving me the chance that he did. He took a 10-year drug addict with no experience and no teeth in her mouth and gave me a job working in a warehouse. I had no experience. I didn't know nothing. And now I can proudly say I'm working towards a promotion. That company has poured into me and given me opportunity upon opportunity upon opportunity. For anyone who thinks that they can't do it and they can't change, I'm walking proof that if you give faith to God, and pray about every choice and every decision that you make in your life, and you stay focused on your children, your recovery, and God, you're unstoppable.
Okay.
So that's where I'm at.
So before we wrap this up, I'm going to ask you a question. Looking back on your journey, what are you most grateful for?
Finding God in my children and my
Come on.
husband. You know, God first, marriage, and children.
Amen.
And I say marriage and children because in order for my children to have good, now you can have good with your kids and be separated and co-parent. But I was raised with parents that they fought through the great fight, like for the kids. And so I was like, I'm going to fight the great fight for my kids.
Amen.
Wait, I have one question too.
No,
I
you
have to
cannot-
ask
no.
it. I just have to.
No.
Because, Chelsea, while you were sharing about Falcon, it was very clear that, and obviously, right, of course it is, that is still something that's painful for you. And so I know that you said right after that happened, hate myself, blame myself,
Yeah.
feel like I'm being punished. So when you think back to that today, what is your perspective of how all of that went down?
So, first and foremost, God has a plan.
Mm-hmm.
God's plan is God's plan. We cannot question God's way. God knows my story. He's known my story since before I ever came out of my mama's belly. And I have to trust in that. I like to tell people that my daddy needed him some company.
That's good.
So my daddy and Falcon are up there together, and they're in heaven, and then they're living a beautiful, most amazing life. So I was told once that, you know, people are meant to be on this. God keeps people on this earth for a certain amount of times to decide on life, how they affect different parts of life. Some people are just so extraordinary that God needs them in heaven to do God's work.
Mm-hmm.
Falcon is in heaven doing God's work. Falcon dying, we've had this discussion before. I don't cope well. Falcon dying has been something that I still have days that I struggle with. I have blocked a lot of it out. Because I was on drugs, I don't remember a lot of it, because I was very heavy on drugs at that time. But I will tell any mother out there that has lost a child, there is people that you can talk to.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a bad person. You're not unequipped to be a parent. Things happen in life, and struggle is a real thing.
And there is one thing that you haven't mentioned. Have you seen Henry?
Yes. So I actually ended up, once I got out of rehab, Melanie reached out to me and said that they had decided that that they wanted to let me and Henry meet. And so it was either Kesey's or Poe's. I think it was Poe's first birthday. They brought Henry. I had it at Celebrate Recovery in Byram was where I had the party. And then I got to meet Henry. And I was so nervous, y'all. I was like, oh my gosh, does he know who I am? Well, they sat down and they explained to him who I was. He calls me Mama Chelsea. And actually a year later, after Gino had got sober, Gino got to meet Henry too. Henry calls him Papa Gino. He just knows that God loves him so much. He's so special. He has more parents than the average kid.
I love that. I love that.
He is a beautiful, beautiful, bright, amazing little boy He's athletic. He's smart. He's handsome as can be. And he loves everyone. And he loves God. And we are blessed that all of the boys all get to see each other. They have relationships. We do holidays together. We go to soccer games and different things. Big shout out to Melanie and Adam.
Yeah, that's nothing but God right there.
That is all God. But I want to thank you for taking care of my son, loving him the way that y'all do, and never giving up on me and Gino and allowing us to be part of his life, because they don't have to do that.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, I have another question, and then I have a gift for you.
Okay.
What's your favorite tattoo?
My favorite tattoo? It's my dinosaur.
Did you know she was going to say that?
It's my dinosaur.
I feel like that was a.
Hold on,
Hold
John.
hold on.
What's your favorite tattoo? It's your dinosaur.
My dinosaur.
What does the dinosaur mean?
So this is our recovery Rex. So John got on Facebook, and it was like one of these little nerd things. It was like your second has to get this matching tattoo with you, and it was this nerdy little dinosaur.
He didn't know that you was going to do
and
it.
I was his
She was my second
ad.
and
so he posted, and I was like, John, we're doing this. And then everybody flooded underneath the comments and was like, Recovery Rex, let's do it. Well, me and John, we really did it.
Yeah, we were.
We really did it.
We were the only ones that showed up, and
we really did it.
We added a little 2%.
We have
right
the
up under
2%
it.
because only 2% of IV drug users ever fully recover.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we are those ones.
So this gift I got for you.
Okay.
I'm not the only one that thinks this, but you have a knack for naming children.
I do.
Yeah,
I
every
do.
one of those children have the coolest names of any child I've ever met, and they're the coolest children that God probably ever created,
Poe's
aside
middle
from
name
mine.
Poe's middle name is Castor. For anybody that doesn't know,
So,
my kids.
I was in cups today, and this always happens to me. In this same particular
Mhm.
cups, there's always a coffee cup that reflects the guest that I have that day.
Yeah.
Go ahead and open your gift.
Okay, I got to
Mine talked about punching people in the face.
Yeah,
so
That's awesome.
I was like, that's
That's
appropriate.
so awesome.
Shane's was really cool, too. It said, come back with a
Oh
warrant.
my God. So my sons, do I have time? Can I tell the story of Poe's name?
Real quick.
Okay, so Poe, like I told y'all, when Poe was born, Poe had syphilis. So I didn't know if I was having a boy or a girl. I had no idea when I had Poe. So I named Poe after Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. In the story of The Raven, they go on the search for the cure for syphilis, and he takes the castor bean and he goes mad. So Poe's name is Poe Castor.
Wow.
So
wow.
hold up the cup.
Who's on the cup, Chelsea?
It is. Pour some sugar on me. And it's Edgar Allan Poe. And
That's
this is
perfect.
amazing. This is going to be my new work coffee cup. I love it so much. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
And thank you guys. First and foremost, thank you guys for hashing out my story with me, and I guess working through my trauma with me at the same time.
You truly have an amazing story.
Yeah.
You're an amazing, wonderful person in my life. Like I said in the first episode, you're one of my closest confidants. You're my sister. And
It's your vulnerability for me.
And I love you so much. I do. I love you. I love Gino. I love them children. Y'all are my family.
You are our family, and we love you too. One more thing, shout out to Gino.
Yeah.
Happy birthday. Gino's birthday is on Monday.
Hey, happy
He's
birthday, Gino.
He's still working Monday. I don't care.
No, he's not.
Yeah, I know.
No, he's not. Our birthday plans were a bust. And he knows it. I bought a kayak for him so we could go kayaking together.
Right on.
And because of the technology crash or whatever, Amazon informed me that his kayak's going to be late coming. So I had to tell him that. But yeah, I love you guys. Thank you for having me. Anybody that watches this, if you need help, please reach out to me. If you want to get into rehab, if Born Free, or even another rehab, male or female, look, I've got connections. I want to help. I'm here to talk. Send me a message. I'm always on Facebook. I'm always here. I hope you guys learned something great from my story, and I hope that I could inspire some of you. And hey, get with God. God loves you. God is amazing. And John, I love you. Stacy, I love you. And thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Oh my goodness.